Hello everyone, I'm sorry for the Miley Cyrus. The college kids really like it, because at first they're like, oh god, he's playing wrecking ball, and then you hear the distorted flutes and you know this is not your normal wrecking ball. My favorite are the reggaeton horns though. This is a really nice touch. So thank you for not fleeing. I am indeed Alexis, co-founder of Reddit. I actually know this town and this weather pretty well. After graduating, Steve Huffman and I moved up to Medford, Massachusetts, Medford. 72 Bristol Road is where the first lines of code of Reddit were written, where we first launched it from a tiny little rented apartment from a couple of Tufts students. And yeah, it's been amazing. I could not have fathomed it 8 years ago. But anyway, it's really nice to be back. I'm here to talk to you guys about making the world suck less. And some lessons that I've learned along the way with various startups and other things. But I want to talk about something that you guys all know, which is the power of the internet. Hopefully, a few of you also understand my Power Glove reference. Incidentally, it's a terrible way to play video games, which doesn't make it the best metaphor, but just hear me out, okay? It's so bad, right? There is a tremendous amount of power here in the connected web, and you guys know this pretty well, right? The software that you provide lets anyone, like a random dentist in Tulsa, compete on this level playing field for people's attention. And if they make great content, or as Dharmesh put it, if their content sucks a little less than their competitors, they can win, right? They can get attention. And one way I get attention is through Mascots. All of the companies I've helped start have had cute logos. The Reddit Alien actually came about because I was bored in marketing class my senior year of college. That's right, we did have a mascot before we had a product, but I knew I really wanted a mascot because I felt like mascots needed a turnaround. The Hitmonk Chipmunk came about because Hitmonk co-founder Adam initially wanted to call it Bounce Pounce, which did not love. And his very wise girlfriend said, listen, just come up with some misspelling of a cute animal's name. And then Alexis will just make a mascot for it. And so voila, chipmunks have nothing to do with flight or hotel search, but chipmunk without a C is Hitmonk, and it was only $400. Domain squatters, and we had a mascot. The bread pig, a pig with bread wings, that's just crazy. That was actually because we were searching it wasn't Reddit for a while. For a while it was like, oh god, it was gonna be Snoo. That's actually why the alien fun Reddit trivia is called Snoo. It's because we wanted it to be snoo.com. We couldn't afford it. The idea was we would say, hey, check out Snoo, and people would respond, oh, what's Snoo? And we would say, exactly. That is exactly what we wanted. Yeah, but we couldn't afford that one. And then there were some other terrible names. Paul Graham, for all of his brilliance, terrible domain name suggestions, just awful. But fortunately, we settled on Reddit. And somewhere in the process, we were looking up expired domains. So you'd search for the word. We knew we wanted read in it somehow, R-E-A-D. And in searching for these expired domains, we found one. Just happened to be bread pig, because of course there's a read in the middle there. And I looked at Steve, I was like, what the fuck is a bread pig? And he's like, a pig with bread wings? Genius, perfect. And thus a publishing empire was born. But let's just take it back for a minute. Look, I just want to, in defense of the saga, this is one of my favorite mascots. I know it's much maligned because the company just sucked so terribly. But it's one of the things I like remembering is someone who really thinks a lot about marketing and building brands. Even a great mascot can't save a crappy product or service online. That's one of the reasons the internet is so great, right? You can have a multi-billion-dollar bottled water industry selling you stuff that's just as good, if not, maybe not nearly as good as the stuff that comes freely out of taps because of perception. You go down a toothpaste aisle, right? There's so many damn things to just clean our teeth. Right? But online, you might win in the short term, but in the long term, you actually have to be bringing value, not only in the product or service, but in the content you create. You guys all know that very well. And I want to pour one out for the pets.com mascot later tonight. Because it's actually a little too soon, right? I mean, wag.com now provides all of my cat litter, not for me, but for my cat. I'm a proud cat dad. And so they were just a little too early, but it's okay. Speaking of being too early, this Reddit was not our first startup. Steve and I started a company while we were in college. We were down at UVA, and Steve really didn't like having to wait in line for things. And I could empathize with him. It seemed kind of silly. We had these mobile devices in our pockets. Like, why can't we order from them? And so thus, my mobile menu was created, or for short. We had with the, okay, all right. It's fine. It doesn't work out great in the end. But the point is, we had a name. We figured we were going to be able to solve this problem that was affecting us and lots of people who didn't want to wait in lines. And so we built a first version. We talked to every restaurateur in Charlottesville, Virginia, and they all said, maybe, but that was good enough. They were taking fax orders at that point from the internet, and we thought, all right, we can interface with that. We can make it work. And we had a very fateful trip our senior year spring break because we did not go here. We did not. Instead, we went up here to Boston, here. And we heard Paul Graham give a talk called How to Start a Startup. And it was quite pivotal. We were seniors in college. Not only were we avoiding sunburns and alcohol poisoning, we were also getting an opportunity to talk to some people who were excited about this new startup thing. Because they saw that maybe a couple of people with laptops could one day build something that would be huge. And we applied because we thought, well, is going to be huge. And we had met Paul afterwards, and he liked what we were working on. And so we met him, and then we applied, and we did a great job. We came up here for interviews, did an amazing job, and then we got rejected because they just didn't like our idea. And we got drunk, which is a thing to do. So yeah, we got really drunk. Border Cafe off of Souls. It took a while on Souls, but tequila in there too kind of helped expedite things. But we got drunk. We actually that night, we bumped into a couple of Harvard students who had just taken job offers. They were bragging. They were all drinking, having a good time. They were sort of boasting about how they had just gotten job offers at Lehman Brothers. And they were pretty proud of that. Don't know how that turned out. But in my drunkenness and insecurity, I sort of blurted at them, well, you think that's cool? We just got into Y Combinator, and we're going to do a company called and it's going to take over the world. Yeah. And I just felt like total garbage and drank more. And then the next morning, hungover on this train ride, and we get a call. And it's PG. And he says, listen, we still don't like your idea, but we like you guys. If you're willing to change your idea, come right back up here and build something not on a phone, but in a browser, we'll let you in to Y Combinator. We're like, done. Is dead. We got rid of the business cards. We decided, all right, we're going to build this and solve a problem that we ourselves had. Steve was an avid Slashdot reader. I was just opening tabs. Remember, tabs were a new thing once. Every morning. And we thought we could solve this problem somehow. Because it was too early for smartphones, right? The smartest phones were like a Trio or a BlackBerry. Sad, too soon. Too soon, BlackBerry. But we had this opportunity now. We could just build something in the browser, solve our problem, and so we got to work on this thing, the two of us. This is us on the first day of Y Combinator, wide-eyed. You'll notice again, look, I have a t-shirt with the mascot. We still don't have a product. I have a mascot. I do not advise this, I really don't. You'll also notice, if you've seen photos of Steve recently, he looks the exact same. It's because he's a vampire, of course. Now, something you can't tell from this image, but you can now thanks to image enhancing software, is exactly what we were thinking at this time. We had no fucking clue what we were doing. And something I want to point out is that none of us really ever totally knows what we're doing. If you ever see anyone fronting like they've got it all figured out, those people are either lying or delusional. All right, seriously, it's a little disconcerting when you go to the doctors, but really, like we're all in a perpetual state of figuring it out, of hacking it, all right? And when these things get started, it's really easy to assume, oh, of course, there was this grand plan, everything was laid out. No, life is not a paint by number, okay? Like, you just kind of figure things out all the way. And if you remember some important words from a cartoon dog, sucking is the first step to being sort of good at something, right? Adventure Time. This is important, guys. All right? And so in the spirit of that, this is the first version of Reddit, which kind of sucked. We got it out after 3 weeks, and you'll notice my first submission was the Downing Street memo, and I have -1 karma. Yeah, that's because Steve is a dick. He downvoted the first submission ever to Reddit. Yeah, and I knew it was him. There's only 2 of us in the apartment. Like, I'm just looking over the table and I'm like, really? Like, this is the first version, all right? It ain't pretty, it's janky. Right? Granted, Reddit's not gonna win any design awards anytime soon, but the point is, the first version of everything is gonna be janky, all right? Twitter, Facebook, they all started out looking janky. The first Iron Man, remember that? Janky, right? But it solved this problem. It worked. It was minimum viable product before that was a phrase. I can guarantee you, first version of HubSpot was janky. Yes. Dharmesh, he's nodding on this one. Janky, all right? It's okay. That is okay, right? And it's exciting that things like MVP have become have propagated and they're a part of startup culture now. But like, look, this applies to so much, like whatever it is, like seriously, if you've just been dying to start taking photographs and building a career for yourself on this side, like just to be getting into photography, to be someone who wants to do something like take photos, your first photos are probably going to suck, right? And then you're gonna start learning about rule of thirds. You're gonna upgrade to a better camera than your iPhone. You're gonna start getting better. None of us start out great. In fact, one of my favorite stories of sucking is a friend of mine who 3 years ago was a total failure, by all accounts, failed out of University of Georgia, could not get a job, just this, dude had a lot of stuff going, it just couldn't work. Nothing worked. And he told his family, I've got a solution. I'm gonna move to New York and I'm gonna take photos. They were like, dude, you don't even have a camera. Like you take terrible photos and you don't even own a camera. This is a terrible plan, terrible. And yeah, you know, he moved and he sucked. He was bad. He started a Tumblr. He started talking to the people he was interviewing, and over time, he started getting to know them and he started writing about it. And in 3 years, that failure became Humans of New York. Brandon Stanton, a little over 3 years ago, was a total failure, fail out of University of Georgia, couldn't take a photo to save his life, and now is one of the best known, most widely viewed photographers in the world. Millions of people see his photos every day. He's having a huge impact on the world now, and he never would have been able to reach that level without the internet. So like, get over it. Get over sucking, okay? Get over not having anyone care about what you've made, all right? This is, the entire marketing budget for Reddit was stickers. And then we saw people actually making art out of the things that we had created. This was amazing, right? I mean, we sued the little girl who made this. It's trademark infringement, so of course. Yeah, she is not going to college. Yeah. No, of course we didn't, no. That's something the entertainment industry would do. No, instead, we encouraged it. And before long, you've got Brazilians like Fernando here who have it tattooed on their body. This is amazing. And it happened with a huge budget of $500, right? You guys know this. The power of content, the power of creating stuff far outweighs a billboard or a television commercial. And what's wild is, a bunch of us here realize this, and most of the rest of the world is still just learning. Like, this is amazeballs, okay? Because in 15, 20 years, we're gonna look back on the stupid things we did to try to influence people and be like, why did we waste so much money on that blimp? Okay, maybe not. Blimps are amazing. But like, most of the other things are kind of silly, right? And so you can get to, actually I gotta update this, you can get to 81 million monthly unique visitors with stickers because you can build something that people want, right? What convinced you to get on Instagram or Twitter, right? Making something people wanted. In that spirit, that was actually what we ended up using to create Hitmonk. Hitmonk co-founder Adam Goldstein was booking flights for his debate team. And he noticed on the 20th page, you could find this: the worst flight imaginable. This is actually the worst, most expensive flight you could take for this route. Now, as a product designer, I'm thinking, why in the hell do you even show this? Like, is there a masochist on your site who's just like, honey, I got it. Worst flight ever. Like, this is gonna be awful. Thank you, developer, for showing me this. Like, it's so ridiculous. And here's the best part, they actually have the technology. Read this, it says too many pages, use the filters to instantly narrow down the list. They have the technology and they won't use it. This was an opportunity, right? This was a pain point. And in 2010, we launched Hitmonk, of course, again with the cute logo. But look, we didn't invent Gantt charts. We didn't invent any of this stuff. There are no, you'd be hard pressed to find any truly original ideas in anything I have done in the last 8 years, right? We're all standing on the shoulders of giants, but it's about execution, right? It's about creating something and obsessively focusing on something that no one else does. The bar is set really low, folks, right? Delivering Happiness was an international bestseller, and the TLDR for it was treat customers well. What does that say about CEOs everywhere when they're like, shit, we could have been treating customers well this whole time. Johnson, buy books for everyone. We can teach them to not hate their customer. Like, it's crazy, but that's where the bar is right now. And it's such an opportunity for the companies and for the people who actually care, who give lots of damns. And that makes me so happy. That makes me really happy because I'm already seeing the dividends it pays, because it means better companies, it means better products, it means better ideas, and not just in business, right? If you can be better than the back button, a little PGism, you can win. That's the enemy. It's being better than cute photos of my cat Karma. Yeah, that's her. Oh, thank you. I was gonna name her Upvote, but that was downvoted by my girlfriend. Anyway, her name's Karma. She's wonderful. I'm a proud cat dad. And that's it. Be better than the photos of the cat on the internet, right? You're working to help people, whether they're dentists in Tulsa or wherever they are in the world, create content that is going to be more valuable than that's tough competition, I admit. I think about every time I hit publish on my blog, or when I just get to choose the right filter on Instagram. I'm like, is this actually worth someone's time? And that's not always the case. And I still hate when I get downvoted on Reddit, which happens very often. But the reality is, this is a truly level playing field. The world is not flat, but the World Wide Web is. And we have to compete with a lot of things for people's attention, but that doesn't mean we can't do it. It just means we have to work a lot harder than we used to. And that's good. That's a challenge. It's a challenge you all have taken up. It's a challenge that you all are working to help other people take up. And look, we can do it. Like this guy, Zach Wienersmith of Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal, this guy now has a career in Tuscaloosa, Alabama as a webcomic artist. This never would have made it in the Sunday comic section, right? Never. You could never see this next to Family Circus. Also because that comic is dumb. But you know what he was doing 7 years ago? He was a professional closed captionist. So this guy, for a living, would have to listen to Kim Kardashian and type the words, every word that came out of her mouth. Soul crushing, all right? But he started a little side hustle. He started a website. He started building. His first comics sucked. You can go back far enough and look, and they're just not funny. They're not even drawn that well. Sorry, Zach. But it's true. But he got better. He got better, and this has now become something he employs a number of people. It's his full-time job. I don't know how he explains it to his family, but all they know is Zach at least has make a living. This is a 72-year-old musician named Lester Chambers. This photo went viral. His son took it. He'd been living in poverty for the last 3 years. It essentially says, I was a member of a band, the Chambers Brothers, that was, rock legends that produced gold records like the one he's holding, and he never got paid. Shocker, I know, but the music industry basically signed some terrible terms with him, and for decades his music was being used. Lots of people were getting paid, just not him. So he was a little pissed. So he went online, he posted this photo, it goes viral. Millions of people see it, fans of his, and say, how can we help? Now, because we live in this wonderful time, he was able to do something about it. He was able to create a Kickstarter campaign, and he raised $60,000. And this man, for the first time in his life, got an album that he owned, thanks to Kickstarter, thanks to a platform that again did not exist 10 years ago. And now he talks about the internet like some wide-eyed founder, and yet he's now a 73-year-old rock legend. But for the first time, he got a taste of what it was like to have a direct relationship with his fans. And it was amazing. And we can't help artists go back in time. And well, if any of you have that technology, please share it. We can't, unfortunately, undo the wrongs that happened to him, but for a generation coming forward, there are more and more platforms for them to not only get people's attention, but also get paid, and it's awesome. And then there are people like Zach Anner, my man Zach Anner. This guy made a YouTube video that went viral, pitching for a show from Oprah, of all people. He wanted to host a travel show. Now, Zach is not a conventional host. He has cerebral palsy. And one of the things he said was like, look, I know I'm not conventional. Right? When was the last time you saw anyone with cerebral palsy on TV, let alone hosting a show? That's probably because some gatekeeper, some talent agent or whatever, somewhere said, this is not really what we're looking for. Who gives a fuck? Zach is hilarious. He's extremely talented, and he wanted to pitch his show to the world. Now, he did actually end up winning that show from Oprah. Unfortunately, the OWN network is not watched by a lot of people, and all of his fans were online, and so when they only kept the video on the TV, they couldn't see it. Okay, adapt, right? Just like any entrepreneur or startup. So he goes back to YouTube and he starts going again, and he's just partnered up with Rainn Wilson's outfit of Soul Pancake, and he has an amazing show called Have a Little Faith. Zach is making a living in LA, doing what he loves, making the content he wants to. And in a world 10 years ago, the odds of that would have been next to none. And these are outliers, I know, but they're all over. And what's so amazing is it's not just in the for-profit world or the entertainment world or the arts, it's also in philanthropy. These profiles are my favorite parts of the book because these are people who are, by their own admission, not technologists. None of these people write code. Now again, let me stress, that is the most valuable skill of the century. But building these platforms are also enabling people who are just purely awesome, like Debbie. Now, Debbie is a full-time public school teacher, which already puts her in like superhero status, okay? But when she's not teaching, she's online, she hears about this thing, this tornado that rips through Joplin, Missouri 2 years ago, wipes out the town. She goes online, she wants to do something about it. Now, she doesn't have any connections, she doesn't have a ton of money, she has an internet connection, she has a donorschoose.org account, she has a bunch of social media profiles. So she starts campaigning, she starts fundraising. In 2 weeks, this one woman with no connections, no TV station, raises over $500,000 in cash money and supplies for a town halfway across the country she doesn't even know. Just because she can, just because she is that awesome and that amazing. And you think about all of these people who, like I said, but a decade ago could not have ever had this kind of scale. And you can't help but get a little optimistic about what it means. As more and more of these gatekeepers and barriers come down, as more and more platforms get built to allow artists to be great, to allow philanthropists to be awesome, it's gonna be more and more good stuff. And hopefully, more and more power for the individuals who have great ideas to spread them. And it's cool because you guys are in the thick of it, right? You guys are getting to make software that's helping so many small to medium and large size businesses actually build content that people want. You know, the motto of YC is make something people want, right? That motto I extend that motto to everything. It's not just your product, it's not just your service, it's your feedback emails, it's the copy on your error page, it's the content on your blog. And that's really cool because it's empowering a whole generation of entrepreneurs, of doers, of makers, and they're all over the country. So I rented a bus before this bus, which was the Internet 2012 bus. Incidentally, this was John McCain's Straight Talk Express in a previous life. True story. We shot a documentary, some friends of ours at Nimblebot shot this documentary. They came along with us. We went from Denver, Colorado to Danville, Kentucky during the election last year. And it was amazing. For 8 days, we went everywhere we could, meeting with startup founders, investors, farmers, mechanics, jewelers, people who were all being affected by the internet economy, and let them tell their stories. We brought a bunch of journalists with us and just toured around. This is not limited to just the coast. It's not just limited to well-known startup communities like Boston or the Bay or New York. It's everywhere, and it's so freaking cool when you're sitting in a field, standing in a field with a farmer, a multi-generational family farmer like Tom Parker, who we met in Richmond, Missouri, okay? Dude's like, there are cows wandering in the background. And we're talking to him, and he's like, yeah, you know, I don't, overalls, imagine just like straight up farmer, all right? Multi-generational. And he's like, Luke, I don't have time to be checking my email more than a couple times a week. Like, I can't just sit around playing Angry Birds, because like I have legitimately angry birds here that I have to take care of. And their eggs were delicious. It was one of the best breakfasts I've ever had in my life. So fresh, so good. And so I see this and I'm like, all right, well, I don't know why we're here. Like, this is supposed to be an internet tour. And then he goes on, I get 90% of my orders now from the internet. And I'm like, what? It's like you can hear the record screech. You're like, this guy, how, what? And sure enough, there's a startup started in Kansas City called Ag Local, which is a marketplace for meat. So when this guy wants to sell his eggs or his pigs or whatever it is, he now has a sort of Etsy for meat where he can post his farm online. It's a flat market for him to now compete with major agribusiness. So now his small multi-generational family farm can compete on the same level as all these others. If you're just a connoisseur of ribs, or you're a restaurateur, or you're a shop owner who wants to order good, locally, responsibly raised food, now you go here. And this guy gets 90% of his orders from a thing that didn't exist a few years ago. And he's not sitting there playing on his iPhone, he's busy running his damn farm. Like, that's cool. That is the promise of what software and the internet can do. And when it starts bleeding out into all of these industries, and I mean, one of the oldest industries in America, agriculture, it gets pretty exciting. So we did it again. We got another bus. I haven't learned my lesson. We also have a t-shirt cannon. Unfortunately, it's not here. It's only for the college kids. I'm sorry. If you want to come to BU, we'll fire. I'm sorry. Now I feel really bad. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you come to Back Bay Social after, we'll bring the t-shirt cannon. What could go wrong? It's great. Like, firing off a t-shirt cannon in esteemed institutions like Yale is just 1,000 times more fun, because like, you're trying to avoid the stained glass of the chandeliers, but you still love that you're firing a t-shirt cannon off here in this place where I don't think it's probably been fired before. We're bringing this bus. We're bringing this bus all over the country and Canada. Our hat. 170 stops at 77 universities, because especially for this generation in school right now, I want to give them the talk that I wish I had had about entrepreneurship. Now, I don't know French, okay? A few of you are probably like, that is not what it means. But all right, fine. Fine, I'll concede that I don't know. But look, that's it. It's as simple as that. This is, having ideas and doing them is not just the kind of thing, it's not just the kind of skill that I want to see in someone I want to invest in. It's what I want to, it's the kind of people I want to work with. These are the ability to have ideas and do them is so well facilitated by the internet. What do you want to do? You want to become a filmmaker? Where do you get started? Well, learn some iMovie, learn some Final Cut, find places to put this content online and get feedback on it. We get spoiled in technology because we are so well trained to self-teach and learn this stuff online. And we take for granted how so many other disciplines are now also becoming more and more available. If you want to learn more and more of these things are becoming online. I don't need to tell you guys this, but there is a generation of college students right now who are using a playbook from the 20th century. And I'm doing everything I can to tell them, go do stuff, go fail, go suck at taking photos and get better at it. Go learn whatever it is you want to. If you start knitting, if you want to knit, there are amazing knitting communities online with amazing knitting tutorials. And then let me know when you've opened your Etsy store, because I want to take credit for all of its success. No, but really, this is an opportunity that we are so well suited for. And like I said, I'm taking it everywhere. These are not to scale, by the way. That would be awful and terrifying. But we're going all over. And one of the things I'm gonna leave you with is probably one of my favorite stories of internets and what it can do to spread ideas. And it's, I told you a lot of things that, nope, I won't let you read it yet. I told you a lot of things that you'd probably think, oh yeah, it spreads easily, right? Here's a woman who's campaigning to rebuild a tornado-destroyed town. These are probably things where, I feel incentivized to want to share it, okay? This is something from the IRS, all right? One of the most loathed organizations in the country, okay? And what they did, and I'll read this for you. There's a bunch of gobbledygook, but then here's the important part. We have reviewed your correspondence regarding the penalties that were charged to your account, and based on your explanation that, quote, the adult brain turns to jello those first few months raising a baby, end quote, we've decided to remove all penalty charges. A total of $2,522 in penalty charges have been removed. Right, there is a look of shock on your faces. I know. I would not believe this either, but sure enough, this was a real thing. And some real human in the IRS had enough autonomy and enough freedom to do this, to credit back $2,500, which is a non-trivial amount of money, but then also inject just a little bit of humanity in this very bureaucratic letter from a very bureaucratic organization. Now, 10 years ago, this is a great story. This is a Thanksgiving story they're telling for years. They probably tell it around the office, maybe the bowling league. A few hundred people hear it, right? How the hell do I have this? It's not because I know this person, it's because it front paged on our picks. It's because it went viral. It's because millions of people saw this image. And what's so amazing is even the IRS was able to have a material impact in the way that we perceive it simply because one person was able to do this, another person was able to share it, and millions of us were able to see it and consume it. And I think hopefully this will stick with you and you'll remember thinking slightly nicer things about the IRS, but compare it to the ad campaign they could have run, right? Millions of dollars on Super Bowl ads for the IRS loves you, see you in March, right? No. There is no way you could build a campaign to make anyone feel any better about the IRS. And yet for $2,500, this one person was able to have a material impact in it. And I figure if the IRS can do it, why can't we? Thank you. So I think we do questions.
Yeah, we can
open it up to questions.
Oh, also, I forgot one more thing: the nostalgia. Okay, so to give you again, remember these things don't just spring up overnight as massive, amazing companies, right? This was many, 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 many years of hard work, luck, just awesomeness, all kinds of stuff. But it didn't start out this way, and I know that because I was at a pitch session with Dharmesh many, many years ago at MIT, and I was pitching Reddit, he was pitching HubSpot, and I remember, I think back on this so fondly because it so well encapsulates just how little of how silly a lot of this stuff seems. you have to remember at that moment, I mean, I can't speak to you guys, but like we were still figuring stuff out with Reddit. Like it seemed like this was a fun side project that, was able to become something that we could be lucky enough to make. We didn't actually pay ourselves a salary, but like we could feed ourselves with. And like Steve and I had something that was growing and it seemed promising. Steve and I, we were not walking around going like, we're the front page of the internet. This is all, just wait, next year it's gonna double. The year after that it's gonna double again. We would hope that. But we just felt lucky enough to be working on something that was growing. And so here we are, and Dharmesh is pitching this HubSpot thing, and I'm like, whoa, okay, all right, this could be cool, but I don't know, maybe, I don't know. And to see what a giant it is here for the Boston tech community and all that. I can't take any credit for this because I was just in the room and became friends and hope to help as much as I can. But it's just amazing because like at that moment we were just a couple of people pitching at MIT. And it's just amazing because now this idea that I remember seeing on some slides is employing a lot of people and making a lot of people very happy, and then going on to make lots of other people who don't even work here but are your customers very happy. And that's pretty damn cool because it just started with just a deck and an idea and another carbon-based life form just like you guys. So, I mean, don't go start your companies all simultaneously tomorrow. I mean, but seriously, we're all just carbon-based life forms. Oh, all right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, so we can open it up to questions, and I'll just pass the mic around.
Okay. Or none.
I hate to be depressing. I just want to counter your amazing optimism a little bit. What is...
Let's bring the whole room down.
That was a joke. You obviously, when you build these kind of platforms, you also have a responsibility. Because although it can be used for amazing things, also there can be a bad thing.
I mean, it's, and I've talked to the Twitter folks a lot about this too, because it's a similar kind of boat. Whether it's a megaphone or a printing press or a hammer or a telephone, at the end of the day, it ends up being people, right? Like, it ends up being users who decide how these tools get used. It depends on users to decide what the printing press prints or what the megaphone shouts. And there is only so much technologically one can do. I mean, obviously, you hope that the megaphone gets used to shout great things and not fire in a crowded room, or I don't know, I've been to Speaker's Corner in London and you can hear some awful things come out of a megaphone there. But you as a creator obviously want it to be used for good stuff. And you hope that more of the good stuff wins over the bad. The way I think about it is, I don't know. The thing that, all right, here's an example. So I'm Armenian. There are entire sections of Reddit, Twitter, that are full-scale denials of the Armenian genocide. And I hate that. My family hates that. The country of France is trying to ban denial of the Armenian genocide. But I don't necessarily want that, because I believe that as much as that offends and upsets and hurts me, that the truth wins, and that more speech, not less, is the way to get there. I don't have all the answers. I mean, like I said, I don't know, but that's personally how I look at it. And like I said, when you build a megaphone, you hope it's used for the great stuff. I really do believe there are more of us good people in this world than there are bad. And one of the nice things the internet does when it works is it shows us that. And whether it's just random gestures or much bigger world-changing things, I do believe there are more good people in this world than bad.
So you've had by the way, thank you for coming, this was awesome.
Sure.
Besides Reddit and Hitmonk, you've had a bunch of really interesting projects that you've worked on, things that you've started. How do you decide that it's ready, that your time has come to sort of move on to something else versus sort of reinvest and maybe pivot or expand what you're doing?
I think that's something I'm still trying to figure out, because I don't know. Like the Hipmunk one was kind of easy because it came at a perfect time because SOPA and PIPA were all my friends who were on the front lines of that work, Demand Progress, EFF, Fight for the Future, were all saying like, seriously, this is going to happen. And that was a sort of easy transition to make. The reason I left Reddit was because Kiva had just opened in Armenia. And so I'd never been back to the motherland, and so I was like, I gotta go. And so I volunteered there for a few months in microfinance. So I kind of have ADD, I suppose, when it comes to that. I just kind of, it's mostly instinctual. I really enjoy, and one of the things I'm working really hard to do going forward is committing myself more wholly to like 2 or 3 projects, as opposed to saying yes to lots of things, which is a gift. Like it's great to have lots of people who want to do cool stuff, and I want to help facilitate that. But I want ideas, and I want my time to scale. And so that's the reason I did this book. That's the reason doing the tour doesn't really scale at all. But I'll tell you, the idea virus of having ideas and doing them is one that it's already happening at universities all over the country. It's not like I'm telling them anything they don't know, because there are student groups everywhere already engaging in this stuff, creating hacker spaces out of unused closets, getting together to work on Kickstarter campaigns or start Etsy stores. But I hope I can help ignite it a bit and get even more good stuff coming. But I'm still figuring it out.
Hey, thanks for coming out. It was awesome. Hello. What are your thoughts on the workplace versus distributed working, like being together and making it happen versus kind of contributing your part remotely?
So I've had experience. I've never had scale. I mean, the largest companies I've started are like 30 people. So put that little asterisk on there. I have seen it work. I know I've personally made it work remote. It's just been the most important thing is communicating and trying to build that cohesiveness, building that team, building that culture that involves getting a bunch of people in one place for retreats or different things like that. One of the amazing things about HubSpot, I'm not just blowing smoke, guys. Like if you can take this model for work and the workplace and culture and be a successful publicly traded company, that is going to be amazeballs. Because it sets a precedent now that this isn't just like, more and more examples of this. It's one thing to talk about how important culture is. It's one thing to talk about creating a workplace people actually want to be in, but having real examples at scale that are being extremely successful, those are just more arrows in the quiver to show that like this can happen. But that's all that said. Remote working is definitely hard, but I've seen it work tremendously well. And I mean, personally, as well as even portfolio companies, there are plenty that do it, but you have to really think about it. And I think 37 Signals has a book about that right now. So go check it out, even though I haven't read it, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be good. It's probably gonna be good, yeah. Oh, who's the mic?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You mentioned that Reddit probably isn't going to win any design awards anytime soon.
No.
Do you think that that's sort of part of its appeal? And do you think that'll ever change? Like, will there ever be an overhaul that changes it drastically?
I keep looking at Craigslist and Wikipedia, and I'm like, geez, really? Like, wow. I hate Yishan, who's our CEO now. He comes from Facebook. He is definitely hearing. I've been pleading to get a modernized UX for a while, and it's not rounded corners and drop shadows. It's more. I mean, that's part of it, but like the meat of it is. I don't know if you guys use Alien Blue. Alien Blue is the iOS app. It's developed by an Australian, like in his spare time, but it's an amazing app. It's actually the best way to view Reddit, which pains me. But he's done a much better job executing the UX. We've never made subreddit discovery as obvious as it should be, and so only about 60% of our user base actually subscribes to Reddits, which is the whole point, which is a huge failing from a UX standpoint. And so part of that's aesthetic, but a lot of that's just straight up like the user experience is not obvious. And part of it's because we've never had a ton of resources. We do now, it's an independent company, but it's still hiring deliberately and slowly. It's still only 40 people now. But yes, it will modernize, it will change. It won't sacrifice the user experience. There won't be Big Macs on the front page, like covering up what you're reading, which is one of the reasons we knew we were beating Dig, was when they had a McMuffin that was half of the above the fold, like half of the page was a McMuffin muffin. And I was like, yes. And I stopped caring. And so it'll never be that. I think Yishan really, really gets that. But he also, Facebook has a pretty solid design sense too. And so I think as these changes happen, and they honestly can't happen soon enough, it's going to mean a better experience, because I need someone who hits that front page for the first time to realize, are you into the Bruins? Great, there's an amazing community there. Are you into makeup? Great, there's an amazing community there. Are you into fashion? Great, there's an amazing community here. But that's not obvious right now.
I'm going to put you on the spot and do something uncharacteristic. So we were just chatting over our coffee meeting without coffee. You asked me, it's like, oh, what can I do to help HubSpot? Now, I have a confession. I have an email to back this up from way long ago. Ever since I was a little boy, I'm like, what would be really cool that HubSpot's never had but would love to have is a mascot.
Wow.
Wouldn't it be awesome to have Alexis design a HubSpot mascot?
Wow. All right.
Just saying.
I'm a man of...
Just the content around that story. It would be a great story to be able to tell upon. Yes, we're public, but we had Alexis draw our mascot.
Wow, I'm a man of my word. So I guess I have to do it. This makes me really nervous though, because here's the thing. I am not an actual design. I do design those mascots, but it takes me a lot of time. It takes me days. I can't just be like, perfect. I'm not an artist. But if I pound my head at the wall or Illustrator long enough, I'll do it. But okay, man.
I'm not saying we have to use it. I'm just saying.
Great. Okay. Great. I have an out in case it sucks. Okay. No, I would love to. All right. We're not recording this or anything, right? Yeah. Great. It would be an honor.
Do you think of, or can you think of any industries or areas of society that have kind of evaded the modernization of the internet? I mean, HubSpot's there to revolutionize marketing. HitMark did it for business travel. Can you think of anywhere that's ripe for the taking that you've seen is just really stagnant?
The entertainment industry? Oh no. It's funny because everyone's hitting it at the periphery now. This is so, and it's going to be amazing. It's a little Schadenfreude, I know, but it's going to be amazing to watch this because they had so many opportunities to get it right by embracing technology. Gabe Newell of Valve talks about piracy as a service problem, and it's such a great quote. The gaming, most of my PC games growing up were pirated, and so when Valve went into Russia, everyone said, "Don't do it, idiots! There's a whole industry around piracy." And Gabe was like, "Nah, I got this." Half-Life 3. No, he was like, "I got this because of Steam. We're going to make the service better than piracy." And now Russia is one of their biggest markets. You look at Spotify dropping music piracy numbers. You see Netflix's CEO talking about moving into Canada and having the torrents of film. The winners in entertainment are going to be the ones getting at it from the periphery, and it's going to be amazing to watch because 10 years from now, we're going to say, you guys, where did all the others go? What happened? They had all these opportunities, and instead they went to lobbying and instead of innovating. That's kind of a hobby horse one though. The one I personally would love to see that is with good reason stonewalled is around health. Obviously we have to be, there are lots of very good reasons to have safety precautions and health precautions, but health tech, if you talk to, I got a couple friends who are, my sister's a nurse, and then a couple of friends who are doctors, and you talk to them and it's how is, this is such an important thing, right? 0 lives remaining. We only got one life, and yet the technology we're still using in hospitals, not that great. And my technologist brain is listening to my nurse sister, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this would make total sense. We could just build an app for this. And it's like, no, bureaucracy layers. And again, there's a good reason for a lot of this stuff, but it's one that would mean so much. I love seeing what's happening in ed tech. Obviously from everything from Sal Khan to the Coursera's and all those of the world, those are coming up really nice. But yeah, health would be my dream one, but I don't have the magic wand for that one. I think I could take one more question, according to Joe. Okay. I'll be on Twitter too if you want to ask me stuff. Okay.
The design question was actually really interesting. I know that right now if you log into Chrome and check out the plugin store, you'll see hundreds of Reddit plugins you can use to change your experience and your view and view photos. Is it paralyzing sometimes to make a user experience change that could cause that sort of innovation to stop?
A little. We have a weird relationship with Reddit Enhancement Suite because on the one hand, it's a very, very small percentage of the user base that use it, but it's very active and they're contributing a lot of the high quality content. So we obviously don't want to screw anything up there. Combine that with the fact that anytime you're deciding features, you want to, David Karp does an amazing job of this at Tumblr. He goes out of his way to eliminate features. the opposite of feature creep, which is what we strive for. Fortunately, I don't have to make product decisions anymore, so I really don't lose sleep over this. But I know Yishan thinks a lot about this because there are elements of the site that from a user or from a functionality standpoint don't even need to be there because it's just why do we need a save button? I don't know. I think at some point we're like we should have a save button or a hide button, like all these things that I wish weren't there. And so when we talk about adding stuff, we'd rather first start with, all right, what can we remove? And that also, as long as it doesn't mess too much with some of those bigger extensions, is a fairly easy decision to make. But it's wild. I'll tell you, there's a reason you can see Hitmonk. And again, same developer, right? The guy who built Reddit, Steve Huffman, is the same guy who built Hitmonk. The latter wins design awards. The former, it's the same dude, it's just experience and helps in that instance. And we also freelanced an amazing French designer who kind of put the polish on it. That also helps too. But the lesson we learned there was let's keep feature additions as limited as possible. And we've been very deliberate with the features we've added and with the scaling of the product of Hitmonk because we learned from the mistakes of Reddit. So thank you guys. And again, hit me on the Twitters, please. And then Joe is going to tell me what to do. Oh yeah, do we do the deli counter? Yeah. Oh, okay, great. Okay, because I still hate lines, of course didn't work out, but we wrote some software, thanks to Twilio. If you'd like to get your book signed, just text that number, and so you won't have to wait in line. We'll just buzz you. It's like a little deli counter. I think a lot of them. Yeah? I think a lot of a lot of ebooks. Ah, right. Okay, so I'll sign your Kindles. You think this would be a solved problem by now, but yeah, oh well. Okay, well anyway, if you did buy a Dead Tree version, yeah, you can do that too. They smell great. That's the reason for the Dead Tree, they smell really good. But anyway, thank you very much, guys.